Who do you think would be the best coach for Samson?
Honey.
No.
What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wheels here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video. Fouad Abiad, has he let it slip on who Samson Dauda's next coach is? On the latest episode of Bro Chat, Seth Feroce, Mike Van Wyck, Paul Lauzon, Iain Valliere, and Fouad Abiad discuss who Samson Dauda's next coach may be, or who it might not be, which is, I found, just as interesting, to be honest with you guys. They talk about Honey Rambod, they talk about a whole bunch of names. Now, we know that Samson's being coached by his wife currently for this Arnold Classic UK. Samson split with Milos after that Arnold Classic in Columbus, where he placed second. Missing his peak, it seemed, based off the videos we saw a week prior in Pittsburgh, plus the videos we're seeing now, and I'll feature these quickly before we get into what was said on the latest episode of Bro Chat. Samson Dauda looking ridiculously conditioned, which is great to see, and it seems like maybe that peak was just more missed than anything at that Arnold Classic. Now, Samson wasn't bad by any means, but compared to Hardy especially, it did make the comparison a little bit tougher in terms of the conditioning levels. Now, it wasn't that much of a difference at the Mr. Olympia. Was Samson in better condition or worse condition at the Arnold Classic? You guys can leave your opinion below about all of that, but he seemed to miss his peak a little bit at this Arnold Classic. So obviously working with his wife now, and it seems to be working so far, even though Samson has had these issues in terms of, saying that he feels like he needs to go to hospital, or I guess he did, because he did say he was going to go to hospital. And at least now, though, he's feeling better. He had some sort of a flu or cold or something he picked up at the Arnold, and now he's obviously in a good spot, looking really good for this Arnold Classic UK, which is on this weekend. So make sure you follow all the coverage here on Desktop Bodybuilding. But let's get into what was said on the latest episode of Bro Chat on who Samson Dauda's next coach may be, or who it possibly is.
Question, we didn't cover this. Who do you think would be the best coach for Samson?
Honey.
No.
Very emphatic answer there from Fouad Abiad. He does go on to preface it a bit, saying that, I don't know if he could have the top 3 guys in the world, which is crazy because Hani has the top 2 guys. He has Derek Lunsford and Hardy Chupin. Now, all the guys that work with Honey Rambod are sponsored by Evogen, unless you're Chris Bumstead. But I'm pretty sure any coach, regardless of what supplement company they owned or what rules they had, they would sort of break those rules to coach C-Bum.
Who did you say? Who did you say, Paul, just a second ago?
No, Ian said Patrick Tour.
Oh, I don't think Patrick would work.
Yeah, he told me that. He said it wouldn't be a good fit for Samson.
Listen, not for
a personal good fit. I don't think you may be here.
On a personal level, because I know Samson is kind of like me in that he needs his like family time. He needs his like night out with the wife. Like he's not like a.
Fouad goes on to say that, not during prep, but, for the rest of the year. And I know Patrick is a hardcore sort of a coach. He's the sort of coach that I think naturally he expects people to eat 100% clean year round pretty much, and do all the necessary work, all the extra stuff, all the extra vitamins, all the extra therapies, everything essentially to look your best possible on stage, which obviously definitely worked for a lot of bodybuilders. And he really did burst on the scene back when he's coaching James Hollingshead. He coaches Keon Pearson now and is a world-renowned coach. And Patrick is very hardcore with all that. But I do know he's worked with guys like Aaron Polides, who's a friend of mine, and he got 9th at the 212 Olympia in 2019. And they've actually talked and compromised a little bit on some of his stuff. Aaron's a father of 3 and has a wife and all that sort of stuff. So he can compromise. So I don't think that's necessarily a major issue. And Patrick Tour is known for his conditioning, but it seems like Patrick is not one of those names in the running to be Samson Dauda's next coach. But let's listen on a little bit more.
I don't think this would happen, but I'd be interested to see what like him working with Chad would be like too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, man.
That'd be the Wild West there. I'd be interested to see that.
Abdullah.
I
Abdullah.
Chad Nichols, another name that came up a ton in the comments on my videos on YouTube about working with Samson. Now, Chad Nichols is proven with some big dudes like Ronnie Coleman, 8-time Mr. Olympia, Big Ramy. Obviously, he's had success with these big names and a ton of names through the 90s and early 2000s that Chad has worked with. Now, that's a distinct possibility. Also, Abdullah's mentioned there as well. Abdullah, I believe, has previously worked with Samson, so I don't know if they'd be going back to that relationship. So that one's probably not in the mix of guys that could be working with Samson Dauda going forward.
I would advise him to not go with anybody that has a record of being loose with the drugs, so to speak. I would like to see him go to somebody who's a little bit more.
Oh, maybe that's what he needs. He just needs to crank that trend to like a gram or two.
Oh, no.
So Fouad said that straight after the Chad Nichols and Ben Abdullah comment. So Fouad's worked with Chad before, so that gives us maybe a little bit of insight in saying that maybe Chad pushes things a little bit higher in terms of the amounts of PEDs used. I don't know. That's all I can read from those comments, but obviously it's tongue-in-cheek what Iain was saying there too.
Yeah. I have someone in my head, but I don't know if you want me to say it.
Say it, who cares? We don't know.
Well, because you told me that,
he's talked to a bunch of people, so I don't know.
Okay. Boss Outlaw, I think, would be a good fit for him.
Boss Outlaw,
from what I know of him, I don't know the guy, but from what I see.
Boss Outlaw is a great coach. I mean, he's got Wesley looked fucking incredible. Urs looks incredible. Nathan.
Stefan, which is boss of Outlaw on IG. Phenomenal coach. Obviously, from what we've seen so far, we can only really go by his track record and what his clients say. His clients are big on what he's been able to do for them. And Fouad sounds very positive on boss of Outlaw, Stefan, for coaching Samson Dauda. So I've got to say, this definitely is the most likely option. And Paul did check as well to say, oh, I don't know if I'll say it. And that's obviously one of the coaches that Samson Dauda has spoken to or is intending to speak to about coaching him going forward. And like Fouad said, the track record, Wesley Vissers looked his all-time best by far. He works with Urs, worked with him, I don't know how long for now, but I know he's worked him for the last Olympia and I believe contests prior to that as well. And Urs has done very, very well in the classic physique. Nathan Diasha brought probably his all-time best or one of his all-time best packages last year, working with Stefan. I mean, the list sort of starts to go on, and I mean, reminds me a lot of a Patrick Tour when Patrick Tour started coming up in this industry, a guy from over in Europe, a guy that's having really, really good success with these IFBB pros out of the blue. And I think this is the most likely option for Samson Dauda in terms of a coach. The other one that sort of comes to mind is Neil Hill as well, especially as Fouad said he'd prefer him to work with someone who doesn't push things too much in terms of dosages. I have heard Neil Hill is somewhat conservative, or at least I've heard some of these athletes that he's worked with in the past are somewhat conservative in terms of amounts. So that could be a good option as well. And I've heard him talking about Raphael saying that, for him to add another 7-8 pounds, it's a 2-year process. He's not trying to push this stuff up and gain 8 pounds in 6 months. So that also suggests to me that he might be a little bit more moderate in terms of dosages. Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. Also, one thing before I leave this, Missy Truscott has actually lost her YouTube channel. I lost my secondary YouTube channel. Go subscribe to it. It's Desktop Bodybuilding Podcasts and Interviews. I lost that yesterday. I got it back. Missy Truscott lost hers a few days ago. It was on Saturday, I believe, and she appealed it. If anyone can help her out there, reach out to her in the DMs and help her if you can. Anyway, that's it for this one, guys. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and click the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself here, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. So that's it for me. I'm Xavier Wills. This is Desktop Bodybuilding and we are out.